Hi, I'm Liz Carter, and I'm here to show you today how to do the basic loop. I have a really easy way of doing it for the beginner, and so let's get started. The basic wire wrap loop is a must-know technique for any wire working. That is the basic loop right there. That's a link. The top of this earring right there is the basic loop, and in this bracelet, every end of the bead is a basic loop, and that's how you link things together. So to get started, these are the tools you're going to need. You need a chain nose plier. A lot of people associate it with like a needle nose plier. They're pointy, no serrated edges. Your round nose plier, which is cylinder shaped, cone shaped, and this is what makes your loops, and a good flush cutter. You also are going to need a Sharpie, and the reason we're going to use this is what you're going to do is you're going to mark your round nose pliers right about there. That's a nice size loop right there. That will show you where to put your wire every single time, and then you will have consistent loops throughout your work. Makes it look very professional. Right, nice stiff hard wire. You need to have full hard wire or half hard wire for it to hold the basic loop. If you use really super soft wire like soft copper, the loops won't stay in. You can with 18 gauge and heavier because those are naturally stiffer even for dead soft, but I like to use head pins when I'm making links, and here are some links made out of head pins. Your basic loop is this loop here at the top of your earring, It's also the loops on links, and links give you this. So it's very basic, but very important in all of your wire working. So I'm going to show you how to do it really easy for the beginner. Right off the bat, you'll have perfect loops, they'll be consistent, and you won't have to guess where to cut your wire. We're going to start off with a head pin, and we're going to take our pliers that we marked, and we're going to take our head pin and we're going to lay it right on our finger like this. I like to take if you take your two markings and face it towards the wire, we're going to roll our wrist out like this. You're going to hitchhike. So just go ahead and roll your wrist out. You're going to place the end of the wire right in between your two marks there, and you want it where you can't feel it sticking out. This will ensure that we have a perfectly round loop. If you have it sticking out, you end up with a teardrop loop. That can be useful in some cases, but it's hard to keep them consistent, and it's not what we're looking for right now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hold on to our wire here, and I like to push down into my finger and pull back as I roll the end of the wire to meet the head pin. And I'm not going to push this end of the wire into the jaw of the plier. We just want it to lay right on top of it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the plier. We're going to roll it up to the top like this without taking it off the plier. And do you see that gap right there? We want this to come in. So we're just going to take our finger and we're just going to pull it in like this until it touches. And I call that a P. Okay? So that is how you roll the loop. Now, if we're going to do a link, like this, we're going to have to make a perfect centered loop for that first side. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take the tips of your round nose and you're just going to kink it back a little bit, just break it back against the plier there, and you end up with an eye pin. And now my loop is centered. I'm just going to bring it in here a little bit more so it touches. Okay, you want the end of your wire there, that end, to meet that bend. Okay, so that is a nice eye pin. So now we're going to make a link out of it. And this is also the part that you would do if let's say this was an earring. So I'm just going to cut the end of my head pin off. I'm going to I'll put on a couple of beads here. All right. That's Julia, my dog, whining in the back. She wants to go home. Too bad. Okay, so here we have one side of your link. Okay, so now we want to make our links, we want to make our loops going in the same direction. I like to have my openings on opposite sides of each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to look where the opening is here. Okay, I'm going to turn that so that I can see the side of my loop. I don't want to see the whole loop in front of me. I just want to see the side of it. And now we're going to bend this right up against the bead. Now I have a big bead here, so I could literally take my finger and bend that right over the bead, but we're going to use a chain nose plier. So I like to brace it on my finger and hold my bead down. We're going to place the plier about 1 millimeter from the bead. Okay, this is going to give us enough room to get that plier to move back a little bit, and we're just going to take our wire and we're going to push it back until we feel it hit the bead on the other jaw, and we stop. See, you can already see a bend going there. So we're going to brace this, and I'm going to go and I'm going to bend this to a 90-degree angle right up against my bead. And if it needs a little tweaking, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so now I don't know where to cut my wire. Well, how do I know how much wire for me to cut to make that loop? So to do that, this is what we're going to do. You're going to roll a loop again, but you're not going to center it. You're not going to make a lollipop out of it. You're just going to make a P. So we're going to take our pliers, and we're going to put our wire in there again, okay? And we're just going to roll our P, and we're going to come back up here, and we're going to move it to where it will touch. Okay, so we have our P. Now we're going to take our marker, and we're going to put a little tick, just a little mark on either side of where that wire touches. Okay, you can actually come to the back side here and bring it all the way around. So now we have this mark here. Now we're going to unroll it with our round nose, let the ink dry. Okay, and we're just going to carefully unroll this. We won't get it super straight with this, but we'll get it as straight as we can. So it's still a little crooked. So now we're going to take our chain nose, and we're just going to go against those bends. We're just going to kind of, there we go. We're just going to straighten that out. Okay, make sure you can still see your mark. I can see the little mark there. Now see that? Now that's telling me that that's how much wire I need to make that loop that is marked on my pliers. So this is your measurement tool. And I'll usually do this to the end, just so that I know that that's not a head pin I'm going to be using for anything, and that I don't end up throwing it away. So I'm going to mark this again, just to make sure that, because this does rub off. All right, so there's my mark. All right, so there's my measurement tool. So now I'm going to take this. Actually, I need my marker again. Okay, so now I'm going to take my bead and my wire here. I'm going to take my measurement tool, and I'm going to line up the end. You know what? I want to make this a little straighter. I'm going to line up the end to the bend. All right, and I can see my little mark. There's my little mark. There's my little mark right there. All right, and now I'm going to put a little tick, just a little one. You don't want a big fat one because then you don't know where to cut it. Okay? All right, so, and what I do is if I'm doing several links, I'll all get to this part. I'll like bend, 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 and then I mark, 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 cut, 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 roll, roll, roll. So that's how I roll. So I'm going to put that down, and now I'm going to cut this. Now here's a little tip with your cutters. The flat side of your cutters is the good side. That's the side that's going to give you your flush cut, and that's the side that needs to face your work. This little divot here, I call it the trash can. Whatever it is that you're getting rid of has to come out that end. This end leaves a burr. This end leaves a flush cut. So we're going to take, and we're going to cut right on our mark. Hold your wire so it doesn't fly around. All right, so now we're ready to roll. So now, before where I laid the wire on my finger, I can't do that now because of the bead and the bend. So what I do now is I'm going to brace this on my finger like that. Okay, so I have that nicely braced. I'm going to take my plier. I'm going to hitchhike, remember? I'm going to place this right in the end of my plier like that. All right, so now I'm going to push down. You don't want to lift up when you do this. You want to stay, keep this nice and level, and make sure that your plier isn't rolled down like this. You want it nice and perpendicular to your wire. Okay, and now hopefully when I roll this, it's going to be a perfect loop. So here we go. I'm going to push down and pull back as I roll this till I can't go any further. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to bring it up to the top, and then I'm going to pull my bead in, and oh my gosh, look at that. Perfect. There you go. That's your link. And now, if I want to link my links together, you take your loop. I always support it. You're going to take your plier, you're going to twist it up. Don't ever twist your loops out of shape. See that? I've never even, and then you're just going to pull that back where you found it. And then we have a link. Now this could be an earring. You can put that on the ear wire and dangle something else off of it, or make a beaded bracelet out of that. And so there you go.